I want to say thank you very much. Thank you for everyone. We seriously, sincerely, and humbly apologize. Certain things just took longer than we had anticipated. We kept pushing back and pushing back, but we do take the business that we have seriously, and sometimes it doesn't quite sink into the time that we would normally have as our starting for the meeting. So on behalf of me, Board Chair, I apologize that we are 2 hours and 15 minutes late. At this point, I would like for us to have a welcome, and I have said that. So if I could ask Ms. Allison, the Honorable Rita Allison, to lead us in the pledge.
Okay. Go, ready, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. And again, Ms. Allison, those words, though wrote, are so important to live by. Is there any objection to approving the minutes as presented? Hearing none, the minutes are approved by unanimous consent. Is there any objection to approving the agenda as presented? Hearing none, the agenda is approved by unanimous consent. I do want to welcome those of you in attendance, and for those who may have joined us online, thank you tremendously for your interest in the work of the State Board of Education. At this point in time, based on information that I have, we have no media present at this point. There is no public comment sign-in at this time, and there is also no visitor sign-in at this time. So we do understand it may have been the meeting's timing didn't work with others, so I'll take that as my fault. I would like for just a moment, just as she takes a drink of water, I would like for Dr. Stapleton to introduce someone that will be coming into the board as she goes off the board, and I will turn it over to Dr. Stapleton.
Thank you. I am honored today to introduce the person that will be taking my seat on the board, and I know that Dr. Mathis doesn't even really need an introduction here. You are all so familiar with him, I'm sure, and all of the work he's done across our state. But he did serve as a deputy superintendent under Molly Spearman when she was here. And prior to that, 9 years in Saluda as superintendent there, and so many other roles over his experience in the field of education, and so much involvement in the professional organizations we have statewide. SCASA, the South Carolina First Steps Board. I did some research on you. I was trying. And also right now with the ASCD, and he is serving as executive director of the South Carolina ASCD right now. And so that is the second judicial circuit he will be representing, though, which are the counties of Barnwell, Bamberg, and Aiken. And so it is such an honor to be able to hand my seat over to you. So I look forward to still following what y'all are doing and being able to keep checking in. And do you mind if I say just another thing real quick?
You may certainly have your point of privilege.
I did want to say that it has just been, it's surreal thinking today is the last day, but I wanted all of you to know that it has been such an honor to serve alongside you. It's just hard to believe that the time is at the end, and even going through the unprecedented times of the pandemic when I first came on the board. But, you know, I was interviewed for a podcast this last year about whenever I was chair, and one of the things I was asked was how you feel when you're going off, and I said, I feel so grateful for the work we've done, but also I am so grateful for the hands it's being left in. I think we have an amazing group right now. I really do. And I think that's because you all truly are champions for children. And that's what our students need and what our students deserve in South Carolina. So I'm just so grateful to all of you for being able to have worked alongside you.
Thank you.
I had the distinct privilege of having the unenviable task of following Dr. Stapleton as chair. She set the bar high. Whoever comes in after me, you got it made. As part of the state chair report, today we celebrate the month of May. May is known in some districts as the end of school. May has many observances, including Arthritis Awareness Month, Better Sleep Month, Mental Health Awareness Month, National Walking Month, and Women's Health Care Month. May is also Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month and Military Appreciation Month. Who knew? But for me, this month is about a very special day, Memorial Day. I find it appropriate that right to my right, our state superintendent is clad in red and white and blue, and the beauty of the pledge, the understanding of the civility by which this board operates and others. In Memorial Day, we find that to be the commemoration to those who gave their last full measure of devotion to their country, our United States of America. Last Friday, as Terry and I were preparing for our older daughter's wedding here in Columbia, I received the devastating news of the tragic death of Randy Stevens. And I will be putting up pictures. Randy was the best of all things American. He worked for the local radio station in Lawrence County, WLBG, and he covered the District 56 board meetings. He never missed a word because he recorded our meetings. Randy was also leader of the Patriot Guard Riders, a motorcycle group who travel across the state honoring deceased veterans, especially those who time sometimes forgets. Randy died in a motorcycle accident on his way to work at WLBG last Friday morning. Randy loved veterans, the local animal shelter, and any dog that was likely to be put down. But most of all, he loved his country. You see, America is chock full of quality citizens like Randy. They live their lives in a pursuit of making life better for others, quietly and without fanfare. This year, may we take more than a moment to remember the phrase, freedom isn't free. It is bought with the blood of dedicated servicemen and women. May we as a state rededicate ourselves to the teaching of civics, a course that I had in high school that somehow has become archaic and that of the dinosaur. And may we truly take the time for a deeper understanding of our government, its documents, and its history. Randy, we'll miss you. Ride well. Mission accomplished. Thank you. That concludes the State Board Chair report.
Well, I guess that means it's my turn to jump in here. David, thanks so much for that just incredibly moving tribute to your friend. And we didn't coordinate our comments today. So the fact that I walked in here looking like an American flag had nothing to do with Memorial Day, but I'm really thankful for that reminder. And it's a real privilege every Memorial Day. I live right next to Fort Jackson, and so we have a national cemetery there, and the fort puts on a beautiful ceremony. And I don't know about you all, but talking about civic engagement, some of my most vivid memories as a child are going to the American Legion celebration, Memorial Day, with my great-grandmother. She lived in a small farm town, and they were very proud of all of the soldiers and Marines and sailors that had come from that little local community. They'd read out their names, and there would be a poppy princess who would
Yes.
quote "In Flanders Field." I think I can still say it by heart. And that is such a vivid reminder to me of just what unites us as Americans. And David, sorry I'm getting kind of choked up here, but your words and admonition has not fallen on deaf ears. We are so excited to think about new ways that we can elevate civics in our schools here in South Carolina. I think we have a wonderful opportunity with the upcoming celebration of the 250th anniversary of the Revolution in 2026. I love to tell our students, I said, the war may have started in the North, but it was won in South Carolina.
Right.
And I want every single one of our students in South Carolina to know that freedom isn't free, and that South Carolina has been on that wall in America since its inception. So the reason I am dressed like the American flag, though, today will take me into the first point of my superintendent's report. We had our Military Honor Cord ceremony, and this is an opportunity for us to present a Military Honor Cord, red, white, and blue, that students can wear at graduation if they are entering the armed forces. So we had just over 200 students from across the state who joined us today. We want to expand that even more in the years to come. The 282nd Band from Fort Jackson was there, and just the live music, what it added to the celebration was just incredible. Our speaker today was General Milford Biggs Beagle, who was the commanding general at Fort Jackson for about 2 years. But as I was sharing with Miss Rita, he's a South Carolina boy, born and bred from Enery, South Carolina.
Oh, wow.
He went to South Carolina State, and he's now a 3-star general, and one of the rising stars, if you will, in our military. He's at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas now, but he gave an incredible charge to our graduates. And so it was just a wonderful day. And next year we'll try not to plan it on a state board day so that we can invite all of you to be part of that ceremony as well. But as you know, less than 0.01% of children or young people in America actually enlist in the armed forces. About 8 in 10 aren't qualified, whether for health or academic reasons, to meet the basic standards. And so I'm so grateful for the commitment of this board as well as the Education Oversight Committee to continue to elevate foundational skills and preparation for military readiness as a very viable and important pathway for our students to see success in their life. It's a national security issue as well as a workforce issue. And so very, very thankful for y'all's commitment around that. The second thing I wanted to update you on today was just the state of the budget. So both the House and the Senate have taken their final swings at the budget. It is now in conference committee. With this being an election year, we don't anticipate that they will finalize the budget probably mid to late June after the primary is done. We saw very strong support in both the House and the Senate, although of course we won't know until they finalize that conference report where everything lands. Under the headline of teacher support, there is strong increased compensation to the state minimum teacher salary. The House and the Senate will have to work out the differences between their two proposals. There is instructional support for our iHub that we use to compile resources. This is something that Superintendent Spearman started, and that is really going to help us make high-quality resources available at scale to teachers all across the state. And then there was also support for Teach SC, which is an initiative of the department to help actually build and recruit potential teachers into the teaching pipeline. So very thankful for that. Under the headline of student success, we saw strong support for the purchase of high quality instructional materials. I know I've talked to you all in the past about how we are in the process of completing the new ELA adoption. We're about to roll into the math adoption to support the new math standards. And so that's going to be very, very important funding as we seek to roll out only the best best and highest quality of materials in our classrooms. There was also support in both versions of the budget for the Palmetto Math Project. So thankful for David's presence on the board, the work that he did to help facilitate the Palmetto Literacy Project that we are modeling this on. But we're very excited. We know we have a steep hill to climb in terms of recovering math outcomes. And so I think that this is going to be a great way for us to pilot some high-quality professional development, some high-dose tutoring projects, as well as the high-quality instructional materials. There also is expansion of full-day 4K, the CERDET program. And then under Safe Schools, both versions of the House and the Senate also include our request for school mapping, which will allow us to create a real-time database that both educators and law enforcement can access. As I like to say, when minutes matter in a school emergency, we have to make sure that our first responders have accurate pictures of what they're going into to keep our students and our educators safe. That was also strongly supported by the governor in his executive budget. There's also money in both versions of the budget for safety upgrades at schools. This is a request that we had put in last year that was funded. We were overwhelmed by the demand from districts, and so we requested more money, and the House and the Senate have both said that they would like to fund that. And then there is money in the budget for us to continue to maintain safe buses, which was a huge priority of Superintendent Spearman's and one that we are glad to continue to promote. But in the vein of safe schools, there were several things that made it into the Senate version that were not in the House version. Safety tools on school devices. You know, we're giving kids Google Chromebooks and all kinds of other devices. And just like we would put a fence around a playground at a school, we need to put digital fences around these devices that we're handing to our students to use during the school day. And so the Senate has included money that would help us continue to provide that at scale at the state level, something that we've done in years past. There's also money in the Senate budget for a strategic compensation pilot, which is a teacher recruitment strategy that a number of districts have already started on their own, and this would allow us to continue to grow and study and pilot that in other districts that are interested in that. And then there's also money in the budget for what we call our Character, Education, and Resiliency project, which I think some of our civics work will actually fall under that when we talk about the values and virtues that we want our students to exhibit, those civic ready virtues that we know all students have to have in order to be strong members of our community. And that's in line with the third thing that I wanted to talk to you about, which was the op-ed that I handed out regarding cell phones use during school time. So there is a proviso in both the House budget and the Senate budget that would restrict the use of cell phones during the school day. The House version says during instructional time. The Senate version says during the school day. So this is something that we're going to continue to talk with the negotiators about as they work out those differences. We've been talking with our superintendents. A number of districts already have strong policies in place. Should the Senate version of the language prevail, it would actually call upon this board to pass a model policy for districts to adopt, and we would certainly want to have a working group with our superintendents to make sure that we're providing them with a policy that supports what they already have in place rather than replace it, but also making sure that there is a benchmark for uniformity across the state. And most important to me, ensuring that there's strong administrative support for our teachers, because our teachers don't have time to be cell phone police. And that's what we have to make sure we avoid in any policy. We need our teachers to be able to focus on teaching. And I think getting at this cell phone use in schools will address not only some of the mental health challenges that our students are facing, but it will also address discipline issues. These cell phones in schools are being used to facilitate fights, to facilitate bullying, both after and during the school day. And so I shared with our superintendents and with our teachers, I'm willing for us to be the bad guys at the state level if necessary, because I think this is just the number one most common sense thing we could do to start to get a hold of some of the discipline and mental health issues that our students are facing in school. So I highly commend to you the book that I reference in that op-ed. It's called The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. And he has all of the research that backs up our proposal there. And of course, we'll have to work together as a community. We value the input and the feedback of parents. And one of the questions that I've had from parents is like, well, what if there is a school emergency? How do I get in touch with my student? And that is certainly something that we'll want to work out with the districts in terms of their communication channels with parents. You know, in talking with law enforcement, what they've shared with me is that, you know, when you are in, say, heaven forbid, an active shooter situation, you need those students fully focused on the adult who is working to get them to safety, right? And we know that in a lot of situations when there are emergencies at schools, there is disinformation that gets spread, rumors start, and cell phones help facilitate those rumors. And so while we certainly don't want to ever deny a parent access to their child, at the same time, I think we have to balance these very real safety and instructional concerns that cell phones create in schools. So those conversations will be ongoing, but I know that you all will probably be getting questions and calls about that, so wanted to make sure that you were up to speed. The last thing that I wanted to mention to you today, again in line of the character and resiliency education, is that I think I've shared with you previously that we have been doing transformation tables with our educators, virtual transformation tables once a month. We actually have one here at 4 o'clock with a Medal of Honor recipient, Earl Plumley, who is going to be talking to our educators about the value of courage. And we are using this I Lead curriculum that John Maxwell has developed. And it says courage is the first step, or the first step towards courage is simply taking the first step. Leadership requires courage, the courage to risk, to reach, to put oneself on the line. Courage begins on the inside. It comes from conviction and dedication to certain values. Courage in one person inspires courage in other people. In other words, courage is contagious. And the quality of your life expands in proportion to your courage. Fear limits a person. Courage has the opposite effect. It opens doors, and that's one of its most wonderful benefits. Courage not only gives you a good beginning, but it provides a better future. What's ironic is that those who don't have courage to take risks and those who do experience the same amount of fear in life. The only difference is that those who don't take chances worry about trivial things. If you are going to have to overcome your fear and doubts anyway, you might as well make it count. And this is the kind of instruction that I was privileged to see in the video that I'll show you in closing today with Nexton Elementary School. There was a teacher named Brittany Gary, who was an incredible light, a bright light at that school. And she said, my students need these character traits. They need these values. She found the I Lead curriculum, started using it with the approval and partnership of her principal, Dr. Hoots. And so they were one of the first schools, if not the first school in South Carolina to roll out the I Lead curriculum. And so I was able to visit, actually see it in action, and I'd like to leave you with that video today. So go ahead and roll the tape.
I do clean your room, but then you put it off to the last second, so that would be their own study.
iLead is an experience that students can have. It is a guided experience where it's student-driven, not just student-centered. We all want to be student-centered as educators, but we would really need to shift to student-driven, where those students are in charge, they're practicing leadership, they take turns leading a group, and they discuss core values, things like priorities, initiative, responsibility, hope, resiliency. All of these things that we've always wanted to teach, but we never had an avenue to say, hey, let's directly allow you to drive your group and teach this and take turns doing it. And what it does is it forces the students organically to converse.
One of the things that's most important is that the team that came together under Brittany's leadership, they got together, and I think one of the things we immediately saw was in those classrooms where iLead was being used and conversations and relationships were being built, that you were seeing a trust element that developed into no discipline because they were able to support each other in the classroom. And they began this relationship with the teacher that was not before.
It's an educator's legacy. It's what we have for our students. And at the end of the day, Dr. Hoots, our principals, are the ones who make that happen, who allow creativity and educators to be able to try, maybe fail, But maybe they don't. Maybe we fly, and maybe we finally give our students the exact thing they need to be able to not just be successful in the classroom, but when they go home to their families, and hopefully have the employability skills for when they go out into the industry.
iLead has rippled into us making sure that we do take initiative, that we do know what perseverance is, that we do know what, if we procrastinate, it's not a good thing, like some of the things, and you can see it in children and they talk about it. And so as we get ready to take the state test and whatever, we've come a long way.
When you value other people, big things happen, right? And we're not teaching our kids that anymore. And so iLead is just that chance to not just value people, but value leaders who will multiply value in others.
And Brittany is one of those leaders. Brittany's students are now some of those leaders, and we're seeing that leadership grow in classrooms across the state. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll conclude my report.
Thank you very, very much, Ms. Weaver. That courage is going to be required of the board as we move forward with things, and specifically as we focus on cell phones. That will be a firestorm. However, the reality of, dare I say, addiction, that people become addicted to those. And I pulled out mine, not to be disrespectful, but I was looking at something that in one middle school dance, a requirement for them to enter the dance was that they had to give their cell phones up so that when they went in the dance, they had to converse and talk and see other people and not just get on that phone and become isolated and insulated from what the dance was supposed to be about. And one of the things, too, that I find heartening about this is in this presentation, children weren't on their cell phones.
Right.
They were actively engaged with each other. And when we do that more and silo ourselves less, we will be a better society. So thank you very much for that. And the courage we will need to do, but I think you're definitely in the right direction. Under State Board items, the Policy and Legislative Committee did not meet. As a result, there is no committee report. Educator Professions Committee did meet. At this time, I would recognize Ms. Johnson to present the Educator Professions Committee report.
Thank you, Dr. O'Shells. The Education Professions Committee met, and we heard 3 action items this morning, 2 concerning new educator preparation programs, one at the College of Charleston, a Master's of Arts in Teaching. It would be a bilingual learners program. The other is at Bob Jones University, a Bachelor's of Science in Special Education, which is multi-categorical. And we also heard from Mary Hipp about Teach for America, and we have someone in the audience that was with us this morning for Teach of America. Wave to us. There you are. The partnerships that are being formed within the state with Teach for America for the different school districts and counties that are taking on this. Many counties do, but some have not yet. And we heard about the number of partnerships that are being formed. So there were 3 items placed on our agenda, and we approved all 3, and we placed them on the consent agenda.
All right, thank you very much. A motion has been made from the committee. It does not require a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I ask for a vote. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any like sign? The motion carries. And that is so exciting that we continue to look for additional pipelines. Very appreciative of Bob Jones going into special ed multi-categorical. We know how difficult that is, as well as the fact that South Carolina is growing. And not everyone in South Carolina speaks English, or in our case, Southern English. So there's going to be needs for this, and I'm very appreciative that the state is taking priority in doing things on a proactive stance. The Standards Learning and Accountability Committee did not meet, therefore there is no committee report there. I would at this time like to introduce Ms. Kreminger. The Educator Licensure Committee did meet. So, Ms. Kreminger.
Chair Shields, thank you. The Education Licensure Committee did meet earlier, and we heard 23 cases. We approved 18 suspensions, 4 public reprimands, and 1 initial certification. And a special thank you to our General Counsel for all of their hard work in moving all of these cases forward to us in such a timely manner.
Thank you very much. Again, this having come from the committee doesn't require a vote at this time. Going to the full board Educator Licensure Committee, that's the reason we're late. This one was somewhat protracted. We heard 4 cases. There was 1 denial for initial certification, 1 retroactive suspension of a certificate, and 2 dismissals of action against 2 certificates. The full board ELC confirmed the ratification of these above cases, and therefore at this juncture, they too do not require a vote. Regarding the consent agenda has been distributed. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, Ms. Kreminger made a motion, and I will take Ms. Allison as a close second.
Thank you.
So Ms. Allison seconded the motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. The motion carries. At this point in time, the South Carolina Board of Education's State Board does not at this point have a report today. And that can be good because of the time we took and the other things that we took. So there were no information items. Please, in other business, please to all of you, remember to turn any forms in to Tracy so that your signed forms can be taken care of. Do I have a motion to adjourn? What?
So moved.
Got one. How about a second?
Second.
Everybody seconds. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Hallelujah.
I get an amen for that.
Amen. Thank you very much.
So you let Matthew escape, huh?
Yes, I did.